Men, motorcycles, and red flags. Today's episode is targeted specifically toward women who ride and are in or seeking heterosexual relationships. But for my sisters who ride, who are members of the LGBTQIA+ community, I look forward to exploring topics and themes that relate specifically to your lives in a future episode, and welcome suggestions for those topics to discuss. Just because a man rides doesn't mean he understands freedom. And just because he says he's protecting you doesn't mean he isn't trying to control you. Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Horsepower, the podcast for midlife women on 2 or 3 wheels, where we get real about riding, aging, rebirth, relationships, community, and putting ourselves first. My name's Shell, road name, Pass Out. Let's get into it. This is the episode that's probably going to ruffle a few feathers, and honestly, that's okay. Today we're talking about men, motorcycles, and those dang red flags. Dating riders, dating non-riders, MC culture, jealousy, social media drama, respect, boundaries, trust. And this one matters because a lot of women over 50 finally start riding after years, decades of putting themselves last, only to find out that the people around them are very uncomfortable with that freedom. Here's the truth. A man can love motorcycles and still not know how to handle a strong woman. Oof, that line hits you in the chest a little. Stay with me. Why riding changes women. There's something about motorcycles that changes women, especially women our age. By the time many of us start riding, we've already raised kids. We've been wives. We've been caretakers. We've put everybody else first. We stayed quiet to keep the peace. God knows I did that in my marriage. But suddenly we throw a leg over a bike and remember, oh, there I am. Yes, here I am. Motorcycles wake something up in us. Confidence, independence, voice, boundaries, desire, adventure, and not everybody around us is comfortable with this new version of us. Some people loved us more when we were smaller and easier and quieter. The bike changes that dynamic, and that's where a lot of relationship issues start to show up. Not because motorcycles ruin relationships, but because freedom exposes cracks that were already there under the surface. Let's talk about dating riders versus non-riders. And before anybody gets defensive, there are amazing men in both categories and some hella toxic ones too. Now, there are beautiful things about dating a man who rides. He's going to understand why you need road time, why the garage matters, how silence on the highway can help heal your soul, and how a random Tuesday sunset ride can save your whole week. There's a shared language there, sure. But there also can be challenges because motorcycle culture, especially certain club cultures, can come with ego and territorial behavior and old school gender expectations and public image obsession and jealousy disguised as loyalty. And some men are perfectly fine with women riding until she becomes a little too independent, until she starts taking those solo rides or making her own biker friends or getting a little attention online, or confidence starts coming up and her community begins to grow. And that's when insecurity has a tendency to show up. Now, dating a non-rider has its own set of challenges. Sometimes non-riders genuinely worry because, let's face it, motorcycles are dangerous. That's a fair concern. But there's a big difference between, hey, babe, I love you and I worry about your safety, and I need to monitor, control, or limit you because your independence makes me uncomfortable. Big difference. Huge difference. One is care, the other is ownership. And ladies, at this age, we know the difference in our gut. Control versus protection. This part right here, this is where I need everybody listening to get brutally honest with themselves, because controlling behavior rarely starts loud. It starts very subtly. It sounds like things like, text me when you get there. Who you riding with? Why do you need to go alone? How come all these men are liking your photos? Well, I just don't trust other people. And listen, context matters. Communication is healthy. Consideration is healthy. But control always grows. A man who respects you wants you safe, but a man who wants ownership wants access, monitoring, influence, permission. Protection says, babe, call me if you need me. Let me know you got there safe. Control says, explain yourself. Protection feels calming. Control feels like anxiety. And women know the difference in their nervous systems before they admit it in their heads. If you constantly feel on edge, like you are walking on eggshells, you feel defensive, you feel guilty, you feel monitored, you worry about upsetting him, that's not respect, sis. That's emotional management. And too many women spend years shrinking themselves trying to avoid conflict with insecure little men. God knows I did it for over 20 years in my marriage. Stop it. Yeah, I'm talking to myself too. Okay. I'm about to stick my big toe into some dangerous water here. Jealousy and MC culture. Let's go there. This conversation needs honesty. There are incredible motorcycle clubs full of loyal, respectful individuals. But there are also some environments where women are expected to stay in certain roles. Attention equals status. Social media creates competition. Territorial behavior is totally normalized. Sometimes women are expected to make themselves smaller to avoid triggering male insecurity, and it gets exhausting, especially for women over 50 who are finally learning to take up space. You shouldn't have to dim your personality to keep somebody else comfortable. You shouldn't have to stop posting pictures because somebody's getting possessive. You should not have to constantly prove your loyalty when someone questions your every move. That ain't partnership, sis. That's surveillance. Now, I want to be real, though. It is important for you to have a clear understanding of what the rules and expectations are in club culture if you are choosing to be involved with someone who is a member of an MC. There are rules. There are expectations. Your behavior and the way you carry yourself is considered a reflection of your male partner. That's just the way it is. So have the conversation with your guy. Sit down. Ask directly, babe, what do I need to know? How am I expected to carry myself publicly when we're at events or we're participating in rides? What are the rules? What can and can I not do? Come from a place of respect and an effort to understand, but do not go into that world blindly. Don't make your assumptions based on something you might have seen in a movie or on television, because, girl, this is real life. And there are real rules and real expectations. So make sure you know what those are and make an informed decision. Let's talk about social media for a second. Social media has completely amplified insecurity in relationships. Nowadays, people think access equals entitlement and visibility is flirting and attention is cheating. And meanwhile, so many of us, we're just out here like sharing our rides. We're building our community. We're making friends. We're looking for other women to ride with and connect with and looking to grow in our understanding of this community and get better as riders. And, we're following these accounts where people are sharing great information and knowledge about, tips and tricks with riding and things like that. And if you've got this dude who is checking your following and he's worried, why are you following this guy? How come this guy's following you? Whatever. It can get real sticky. You may be feeling confident again for the first time in years. And instead of celebrating that, some partners are going to respond with suspicion. And it hurts, especially when all you want is support. So what does respect actually look like? Let's talk about what that healthy respect actually looks like, because after 50, peace, I want my peace. That matters more than intensity. Respect looks like consistency. It looks like emotional safety. It looks like trust. It looks like freedom and accountability. Communication that doesn't involve intimidation. Respect is not the silent treatment. It's not interrogation. It's not being publicly embarrassed or humiliated by your partner. It's not being constantly monitored or having your loyalty tested or your independence punished. Here's something really important. You can love somebody deeply from the bottom of your heart and still recognize that certain behaviors are hella unhealthy. Those two things can and often do exist together. Let's talk about what off behavior feels like. Because, girl, we ignore our intuition as women all the damn time. I'm guilty of it. I bet a lot of you are too. Not because we're weak, but because we're hopeful, right? We want to believe the best. We want to believe in our relationship, but off usually feels like this. You're starting to second guess yourself. You're rehearsing that conversation beforehand, right? You feel relief when he walks in the door and he's in a good mood. Whew, thank goodness. You avoid topics that you fear might result in conflict. Your world is getting smaller. That last one matters. Healthy love expands your life. Control shrinks it. And trust, whew, trust is not passwords and location tracking and constant proof and interrogations. Trust is, I choose to believe your character unless you give me a reason not to. That is adult love. That is grown folks love. Anything else, that's emotional policing. Now, let me take a step back for a minute and talk specifically about location tracking or location sharing. Because from a safety perspective, there are times where sharing your location is important. Now, I have Life 360 on my phone. My son does. My partner does. My father does. And my club sisters do. Whenever I am on two wheels, my location is being shared with all of those folks. In fact, location sharing on an app like Life 360 is a requirement and non-negotiable for membership in my club. And that is purely from the standpoint of safety. If anything ever happens when I'm on two wheels, I decide I want to take my bike down the road to go grab, a half gallon of milk because it's a beautiful sunny day. God forbid, something happens. I go down. My sisters, my partner, and my family all immediately get an alert letting them know that I may have had an accident. They know where my location is. They can get to me. They can direct first responders to me. So think about that because that is an important consideration. Somebody who wants to monitor your location while you are traveling for safety purposes is very different than somebody who expects to know your every move and where you are 24/7. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you are comfortable with. But I just wanted to put that little footnote in there. Now, I think one of the hardest things for women our age is realizing that chemistry and compatibility are not the same thing. You can love someone so much and still recognize this relationship is making me smaller. Motorcycles teach us something really powerful, that balance matters. Confidence matters and awareness matters. The moment something feels off at 70 miles an hour on a bike, you pay attention right away. Maybe we need to start treating relationships the same way because ignoring warning signs emotionally can become just as dangerous as ignoring them on the road. You've all heard that expression. Hey, I saw the red flags. I just thought it was a circus. Ooh, yeah. I've done that. Not a good thing. I want to leave you with this one question. What's something you ignored that you shouldn't have? A red flag, a gut feeling, a behavior you explained away because you loved them so much? I want you to think about it honestly. Go ahead and share it in the comments. And if this episode hit home for you, share it with another woman rider who needs to hear it. Because the more we talk openly about these things, the less alone we as women feel navigating them. Until next time, ladies, keep your tank full, your standards high, and your eyes open.